And we are back with another episode of the Hockey Princess podcast. I am your host, the Hockey Princess. We've got crusty old guy here. Just as a reminder, make sure to hit that like and subscribe on either Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, however you watch or listen to us ramble on a weekly basis. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you want to be on an episode, you need us to explain something that we talked about over the summer, send us a message on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. You can email us, you can message us on Facebook. If there's a platform, we're probably on it. Also, just as a reminder, please do not get up while the puck's in play. Do not try to go back to your seat while the puck's in play. I appreciated the people that were like climbing over the seats in front of us, so we didn't have to get up, but you're still walking past us while the game is in play. And, we're tied, and it is the last, 90 seconds of the third period, and we are in the offensive zone, so you might as well just wait a second, please. That is all I have in terms of announcements. Let's get into it. Just some broader NHL scope stuff. Broad in the realm of not the Blackhawks. The NHL All-Star Weekend is coming up soon. They unveiled the jerseys that I truly think are some of the most hideous All-Star jerseys I have seen. They're usually pretty ugly on a year-to-year basis. I think it was one of like Kaner's first ones where they weren't awful, but they've been pretty bad the past couple of years. So I wasn't surprised that they were ugly, but they're really, really, really bad. There's a boo to Justin Bieber for designing that. They look bad. I don't like it. Thoughts on the jerseys?
They're really ugly. Again, it's an all-star game, so it's about the tiny tots, so maybe the tiny tots like them. I don't know. I always worry that there might be a big generational gap between me and the younger generation. So, maybe the kids who are like in their early teens really think they're neato and cool. I do not notice.
Yeah, I don't like them. Also, NHL All-Star stuff for that weekend. The PWHL is doing a 3-on-3 game that Thursday of the All-Star weekend, February 1st. I'm very excited because two of my favorite female hockey players are going to be doing this, which makes sense because they're some of the more famous in the PWHL world, and that is Sarah Nurse and Kendall, the Chicago legend.
What about the night?
Hmm?
What about the night?
Mm-mm.
She's not one of your favorites?
No, I like her.
Uh-oh. You froze there for a second. It says we're still recording, so I hope you're talking. I am not. I am still continuing to talk. Uh-oh. Well, so yeah. So Hillary Knight also, that's what I said. I believe we might be dropping a connection, so we might be restarting this broadcast. Or we might not be. At this point, we don't know. I don't like carrying the show by myself, though. I know that. Oh.
Yeah, we're back.
Ah.
We're back.
We're back?
Yep, we're back. So we're talking about Fleury's big accomplishment from this week.
Oh, okay. You want to handle that one?
Yeah, we're already rolling with that one.
Oh.
I just kept going while I couldn't hear you.
So do I. Who knows? How do you know it's not me talking the whole time then?
I would hope our listeners will be able to tell my voice versus your voice.
Right, but why, if we have technical difficulties, why would it be your voice that continues? Because I kept on talking.
Because I'm the one that has the microphone.
Oh, you're the boss. I get it.
Exactly. So yeah, big accomplishment, which was good because the game before, when he was supposed to break that record, like I said, they kind of got pounced by Arizona. but it's happened. Now he's number 2, which is great. Because all of the respect to Marc-Andre Fleury, even though he's a little bit of a Blackhawk legend traitor, who knows how many more seasons he has. He has definitely been around for a long time. I mean that in the most respectful way possible. He's getting older. We don't know.
Yeah, he is. It's been a struggle of a year for him, so. And now he's supposed to carry the majority of the load, but we'll see.
Yeah.
The young man's game, as they say.
Exactly. Do you have anything else on the NHL scope from this past week?
NHL. I don't think so.
Cool.
I really haven't been doing a lot of homework. I'm kind of a slacker.
True that.
True that.
We got a lot of prospect stuff to talk about. Because as I told crusty old guy at the San Jose game last night, everybody prospect wise kind of lit it up this weekend. It was very much a good weekend for all the Blackhawk prospects, starting off with one of my favorite Blackhawk prospects, and still should have been on the World Junior Canada team. Maybe if he was on there, they would have made it to the medal round. Probably not, but a girl can dream. Paul Ledwinski with 1 goal and 3 assists against the Peterborough Petes on the 11th. He was more like heavy on the assist aspect, but if you watch the footage of all of the goals, the people that actually like scored the goal, they were just like awkward tip-ins. Ledwinski's setting up all of those plays. That's all on him, and it's just redirects off of somebody else. But Ledwinski's the one that's carrying it from the defensive zone to the offensive zone and is setting up everything, which was really cool to watch. So even though he just had the 1 goal, that was the game winner, he might as well have had 4 goals that game because those were all him setting everything up. And then got another assist the night after against the Oshawa Generals. Next prospect is going to be Gavin Hayes, who has now been traded, as we talked about last week, from the Flint Firebirds to the Sioux Greyhounds, where his brother plays. Scored 2 goals against the Gulf Storm. One of them was the insurance goal. And then the next night scored 2 assists against the North Bay Battalions. Y'all know what I think of Gavin Hayes. I think he's pretty amazing. I definitely do think he's sort of set up to either be like, if he's a top 6, it's definitely the second line. I don't see him on the first line. I definitely do see him as the potential to be one of the more skilled bottom 6, like top bottom 6 or bottom top 6, if that makes sense. And that's really where I see him. You know, he's a goal scorer, but he's also incredibly feisty. He's got a bit of grit to him, but also the skill to back it up as well. But I don't see him on the first line. And I know there's some people that have been concerned with his performance lately. Maybe they didn't see as much as they wanted during World Juniors or during these last couple of games. That may be the case, but I think, you know, those are the people that saw him initially as a top 6 guy. Love Gavin Hayes, but I don't think he's a top 6. I think he is maybe a top 6, you know, if an injury happens, if something happens where they've got to like move around the lines, but he's one of your best bottom 6 prospects right now. And that is, like we talked about a couple of weeks ago when we explained, you know, first, second, third, fourth, being a bottom 6 guy does not mean that you're not as talented. You're just a different type of player. And I think the people that are kind of on his case right now expected him to be one type of player, when in reality, he's a different type of player.
Yeah, and I mean, he was the extra forward at World Juniors, but he was also one of their penalty kill pairs. So that means, you know, he's a good penalty killer, which is exactly another tool that you want from your bottom 6 guys. You'd like them to do the heavy lifting in the penalty kill and give your more talented players a rest while we're on the kill.
exactly. Like, I
So,
think as much as we love Bedard and the prospects of Moore and Nazar, you don't need 12 forwards that are like that. There are other roles that you need to fill to have a successful team. I mean, yes, Kane, Taves, but I remember so many times just being so comfortable when I would see that number 16, Marcus Kruger, at the dot. Like, you need other guys, and it's noticeable when those guys aren't there.
yeah, it takes a village, as they say.
Exactly.
So, everybody will be finding their roles in about another 3 years. So,
Right. Next one, Alex Frond, 2 goals against the Sarnia Sting this past weekend. He's consistently at least putting up a couple of points a game or like a weekend, which I love to see. Just he's been pretty consistent these past, like, going into the holidays / at the beginning of this year. You love to see it. He's definitely, I think, on a longer, like, a little bit more of a project. To be fair, he was just drafted this past year, but I definitely see him coming a bit later than some of the other prospects, which is fine because not everybody needs to come at the same time, because then you've got a bunch of like baby forwards where there's no other room to put anybody else. It's all about, who's coming in this wave, who's coming in the next wave, and stuff like that. But he's been incredibly impressive since the beginning of, or since the end of 2023, beginning of 2024, and you love to see it. One that's been on the quieter front, mainly because he was playing at World Juniors, is Misiak. 1 assist against the Kitchener Rangers, and then 1 goal against the Sarnia Sting. I know he hasn't scored as many points recently. He was really hot at the beginning of the year. It's kind of tapered off a little bit. I do think, while I don't think this is an excuse for every player on every team, I do think this is something to take into consideration. Misiak plays for a really bad junior team. The Erie Otters are in the midst of a hot mess of a rebuild. So I would say, Misiak's points being tapered off a little bit is not something to be concerned about, mainly because he's shown the potential at the beginning of the year and did well at World Juniors, but he's playing on a bad team. I mean, we even see it in the NHL. Connor Bedard plays on a bad team, so his full potential isn't going to be shown when he has nobody to play with. Erie Otters, I think they are, at last time I checked, they were at the bottom of their division. As we explain kind of every week, every CHL team kind of goes through a rebuild with kids aging out, but he's on a hot mess of a team. So him, tapering down a little bit point wise, that's okay.
and again, it's just juniors. There's still more development for these kids. They're going to get a little stronger. You never know. Even some of our guys that are lighting it up, you don't know if that continues. This isn't an exact science, so, and it does become a lot harder when you don't have talented people to play with. You feel like you're always chasing after the puck instead of controlling the puck for a little while. So,
yep. Next one, Crusty old guy's favorite.
Lardass?
Yep.
Love me some Lardass.
2 assists for Brantford Bulldogs against the Ottawa 67s. Nothing completely spectacular, but 2 assists for a weekend is still 2 assists for a weekend. NASCAR lit it up against Stonehill. He did light it up. I'm gonna preface with, Stonehill's record currently is 0-21-1. So I don't want to discredit points, but it's against a really, really bad team.
And a little bit NASCAR is getting a little bit of a reputation as a bum slayer. Meaning, against bad talented teams, he does definitely pads his stats just like he did in World Juniors. Picked up 8 points against somebody and against quality teams, it was a different ball game. So again, numbers can be deceiving. He's still a darn good prospect. I'm just saying, that reputation is starting a tiny bit.
Mm, mm. That'll get kicked out of number 98 real quick.
Well, and there's other players that are just that way against, they're able to shine against lesser talent, but once they start, and that'll be the make or break things for a lot of these kids coming to the NHL. It's a different ball game, and the other problem is you need to be consistent. And there's no fluff teams in the NHL.
No.
So
others, we've got Oliver Moore and Sam Renzel from Minnesota. Moore with 1 goal against Robert Morris on Friday night. Renzel with 3 assists in that same game. And then Oliver Moore 2 assists against Robert Morris on the Saturday game. Last but not least, but my favorite, Landon Slaggert, your future Rockford Icehog. 1 assist against OSU on Friday, and then 2 goals against OSU on Saturday. I believe it was a split series. Notre Dame took 1, OSU took 1. Gosh, I love that kid. If he could sign and play like the last couple of games in Rockford and get like Landon Slaggert, Colton Dock, once he comes back from concussion protocol, and like Ryder Rolston, that will be a fun game. That will be a very, very fun game.
Well, KD did hold a little press conference / just interview during Saturday night's game, I believe, in between the first and second period. That question was asked. What is the deal with Landon? And he made it sound like they are still all in on him. So meaning after he's done, they will make a push to sign.
I mean, like I said last week, it could be, I know we don't think of this because we think of like, yeah, hockey players want to go to the NHL like as fast as they can. It could be a solid possibility that Landon wants to graduate college. That should not be a far-fetched idea. And that could be truly, the reason. Or, hey, Notre Dame.
A hockey player with a college degree? It's frightening for the world. Frightening, I say.
But it also could be, Kyle going to Landon being like, hey, finish your senior year. We're a hot mess. You have the ability to be captain. We'll still take care of you, but there's no need for you to come right now.
Yeah, and then that very well could have happened. There's going to be spots for him. Might even be a spot on the big club. There's not a lot of talent that's, besides our, little group of old people that we're re-signing. You still have a lot of open spaces. Huh?
We're going to get to that.
Okay.
And then actually, last but not least, a prospect that we really haven't talked about, but a couple of other reporters have mentioned him, is Dominic Bassi, goaltender from St. Cloud University. He was drafted back in 2019. He went in the 6th round, which that is completely fine and normal for goaltenders. For folks just getting into this, goaltenders do not need to go in the 1st and 2nd round to be proved that they are amazing. Usually goaltenders are, mid to the end of the draft because most people are grabbing forwards, defensemen, and then goaltenders. And like we saw with Drew Comesso, it's also, I think, a lot more common for goaltenders to finish out if they play in college versus like forwards and defensemen that will, end their college career after 1, 2, or 3 years. I feel like you see goaltenders finish out the 4 and then sign a little bit more commonly. Just because it takes longer for goaltenders to develop, and they're like, we have the time, and there's only so many limited spots on their NHL or their AHL or even their ECHL teams. Like, we've got the time, stay in school. There's not a spot for you right now.
So, I mean, and again, you know, even if he goes to Indy next year, you know, that's just kind of the way it is. Goaltenders take a little bit of a while.
Yeah. So for those who don't know about Dominic Bazzi, he is in sort of the Landon Slaggert position. This is his senior year. He is 23 years old. He's a little bit older. He played at, I think it was Colorado State, and then transferred to St. Cloud. Let's see. He was drafted in 2019. His save percentage currently right now is .911. Not bad for a college goaltender at all. Or no, sorry, he will be 23 in April once St. Cloud season ends. So he's still currently 22. I'd like to see him because, you know, I mean, I think he's a little bit further along than Guyan is, of course, because Adam Guyan's just a baby. I don't know necessarily what Rockford's position will be next year. Does Stauber back up Comesso again? Does Stauber go back to Indy? Does Stauber go away? I think that backup position to Comesso is not solidified right now. Probably because it's still the middle of the season. I don't know if it's going to be solidified by the end of the season. I think time will tell, but I think right now there is potential for there to be movement on the goaltender aspect.
Yeah, and again, you have Indy also, and goalies are just weird. It's, you know, some of them, they hang around for a while. We, you know, everybody's favorite darling. See what I did there?
Yep.
You know, Scott, you know, he bopped around everywhere, and then all of a sudden got a couple good years. So you just never know. I believe he's a pretty big dude, right?
6'6".
Yeah. So, you know, you'd like to keep him in your system, at least at Indy, and see how that goes. I don't know. You don't know really what the situation will be with Stauber or Weeks. So, you know, having another one isn't going to hurt you.
No, I see them keeping Weeks, especially just in Indy, because I think aside from Bloom backing up Mrazek, Weeks is the most veteran out of the goaltenders that you have. I mean, Weeks has been there for a while, so I don't see them moving him. I could potentially see Stauber getting moved, like was it Domi's trade around the trade deadline where I forget, we traded, do we get Qdobin or bounce off Qdobin? We acquired Qdobin.
Oh, yeah, when we got
like in that sort of a thing where it's like a padded extra thing in a bigger trade deal, I could see Stauber going in that sort of situation where, you know, that's not the big trade itself. It might be, you know, Lucas Reichel to Montreal for a bunch of draft picks, and then we're padding in Jackson Stauber in that sort of thing. Or like my least favorite trade of existence, where, you know, they're shipping off Brian Bickle to the Carolina Hurricanes, and Teuvo Teravainen got caught in the middle of that. I can see Stauber going to some other farm system that way if they really decided that Bassey is their guy.
Yeah. Again, it's people that you're hoping on. You know, Gagne, Comesso, we're figuring, we're counting that they're in the mix in 3 years. The rest of them, you
don't know.
That'd be nice, but we're not really counting on it. So you're going to take an educated guess who you want to keep, who you don't.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't hurt to be stacked on the goaltender aspect. I don't even remember the last time we were completely comfortably stacked on the goaltending aspect. Not for a while. It hasn't been for a while.
No.
So that is our prospect report. Now we head to Rockford. I forgot if I mentioned this last week, but I'm going to mention it again. Your EDM is going to the AHL All-Star Weekend, so it's the same thing as the NHL. It's just different cities, but every team sends a guy, and EDM is going, which we love to see because we love to see some EDM appreciation. Got a couple
Sure
of...
do.
Yeah, we do.
Sure do.
Couple of Rockford games to talk about. One from January 12th. This was a Rockford versus Grand Rapids series over the weekend. One was Friday night and then one was Saturday night. First game, we have Weeks with a shutout. The Griffins looked exhausted, absolutely exhausted. They were just spent. I think they were working at like 50% energy. I'm not exactly sure if they played the night before or if it was just like a wacky travel day, but they did not look to their full potential. I've definitely seen the Griffins, try to compete in games, and this just, it wasn't it. They phoned it in a little bit that Friday night. Saturday night wasn't necessarily the same. It was just Friday night. They looked a little depleted. Ethan DeMastro is back to his dominant side since Creature was sent back down. Since this, Creature is now back up, but we'll get to that later. But DeMastro was then sent back to his dominant sides, and he was playing with Creature most of the night. EDM's gotten a lot more physical, and I love to see it. This man is hit like lining people up center ice, and it's great. I definitely am happy to see him be more physical because there's some defensemen and even some forwards, in the NHL that are kind of afraid anytime anybody comes by them. And they like to do the whole cute, spin thing away from them around the boards, being like, you can't touch me, where EDM is just not afraid. And it's nice to see this because he definitely was less physical at the beginning of the season, and he's just become more and more comfortable with it as the season's progressed. Which is great.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for that. You start to figure out the league a little bit more, and a light bulb goes on, that you all of a sudden figure out, a lot of the things that I was doing in juniors, I'm still okay to continue to be doing them up here. And I think that's might have what's been happening with the EDM. And, he's a physical player. That's one of the tools in his toolbox.
Yeah.
He likes to be physical. He's good at it, meaning he doesn't chase and put himself in bad positions. If there's the opportunity and it doesn't pose a problem to the structure, he'll light people up. So good to see.
Very good to see. That game was basically the night of Mike Hardman, who has definitely been one of the bigger veteran presences down in Rockford with all of the injuries and with all of the back and forth call-ups with different people between Rockford and Chicago. Definitely Anders Bjork, Mike Hardman, and David Gust are kind of their bigger veteran presences. I would really hope, I know it's not going to happen this season, and we don't know what next season's going to happen, but if Mike Hardman or David Gust were to stay in the Rockford, on the Rockford roster, I'm really hoping one of them gets the C next year. We don't have anyone right now. Garrett Mitchell was the captain last year. Typically, there is still a captain and folks that were the A for alternate captain down in Rockford. We do not have a captain currently this year because Garrett Mitchell is gone. I'm really hoping that role gets filled by either Hardman or Gus if they do stay next year, because they're definitely the leaders of that team. Definitely been standing out in terms of performance, bringing the whole team into the fight, and just kind of, there's definitely a difference of maturity on the ice with those three guys, and watching the rookies, which makes sense. They've been playing hockey a lot longer on the AHL scope compared to Nolan Allen and Colton Dock and Jalen Lupin. So I'm really hoping that is the case. Hardman with the 1 goal, and then Brett Sini with a empty netter that actually never crossed the line. Bretzini had a breakaway, then was tripped by one of the Griffins players, and so they gave it to him because it was just going to happen if he wasn't tripped. So it was an okay game. It wasn't the most fun to watch because, like I said, the Griffins were pretty depleted, so it was kind of just Rockford skating around. Saturday's game, a little different. Drew Camasso in net. Happy to see him back. Biggest line that stood out to me was Senny, Lupin, and Tepley. Lupin's also one that has definitely been a standout physically. Also just like being a bit of an aggressor, especially with Colton Dock being out on concussion protocol still. He's definitely stepped up with either truly fighting guys, wanting to fight guys, running his mouth, when he's on the bench or like off the bench to the opposing team. He's definitely stepped up quite a bit. And I like to see it because I do like the kid. They won in overtime. Strong beginning, definitely similar to the Blackhawks at the beginning of the season. Strong first period, let the foot off the gas for the second, and then came back in the third. Again, EDM being incredibly physical, and I was very, very happy to see it. All right, let's get to Chicago. Big news that I did not talk about last week because I was too excited, and I talked about it with Crusty Old Guy, and then the minute we stopped recording, I remembered that I completely forgot to talk about it. Guys, the greatest thing has happened. The greatest thing Sam Savoie is back on the ice. He is skating. He is still wearing a no contact jersey some of the time. I don't know quite the differential because when they practice at Fifth Third, he's wearing the no contact jersey. And then when they skate at the United Center, he's not. But I'm still just going to be under the assumption that he's still in that no contact period of the recovery. Those that are new, Sam Savoie broke his femur in the end of September. It was probably one of the worst videos because you can hear him screaming. And it was just gnarly and nasty. But he's skating, which is great because that means he's coming back soon. As Crusty Old Guy and I have talked about, I'm really hoping that they give him a couple of games before sending him back to juniors because he probably will go back to juniors since he was traded for, and Rune Narada gave Gatineau 6 draft picks for him, so you figure that he does go back to juniors even just for the playoffs. I'm hoping though that they give him a couple of games. He's here, he's been here the whole time rehabbing since the surgery. He did his surgery here. Give the kid throw the kid a bone. Just one game, 1 or 2 games, and then he'll go back to the middle of nowhere in Quebec.
Yeah, and there's lots of bones to be thrown out. So there'll be a couple people that'll be leaving this team, probably not near as many as we thought originally. But you'll still have a couple forwards that might go somewhere. And again, you've got spots for them, so you might as well at least play the kid at least a game or 2 before you ship him out, like you said.
Yeah.
It'd be nice.
Also big thing, Connor Bedard was seen skating on Monday, just 10 days after the injury, 7 days post-op, rocking the fishbowl. You love to see it. Luke Richardson was joking that this is probably the longest break he has ever had from being on the ice. He got the okay from his doctors as long as he doesn't clench or he can't practice slap shots, which I understand the clenching. I don't necessarily understand the logistics of why he can't do slap shots, but I'm not a doctor. I just comment on hockey.
Because slap shots, your stick is gonna hit the ice a little bit, sending vibrations through the arms up through the head.
Oh.
And then that would be bad.
That would be bad. Thank you. Nick Foligno.
Hey, no problem. I'm not a doctor, but I used to play one on TV.
Nick Foligno is also week to week, but he's skating just whenever the finger feels better, he'll be back. Which I'm figuring is soon if he doesn't make it for the trip this upcoming, or if he doesn't make it for the big from the big West Coast trip next week, you figure that he'll be back for the Minnesota Wild game in the beginning of February after the All-Star break.
Yeah, there's been talk about him playing with a special glove, basically putting two fingers together or whatever. I mean, he's not that skill of a shot anyway, so what's the difference? I think he's hoping to get back sooner.
Nice. I can't read what that note is. But so we'll just continue. Also updates. Anthony Ciu, who I'm not gonna lie, I kind of forgot that he was on our roster because he's been hurt for so long. Not really, but I definitely did forget. Had surgery on the groin area by the same guy who did his surgery when he was back in Los Angeles. It's now just the other leg this time. So he underwent surgery. The timetable for his coming back is he's coming back next year. They haven't given a specific, but there's no rush for him to come back for the end of this season. I also don't think, medically, like I said, I'm not a doctor. That's a bigger surgery to come back from than like a broken finger or a jaw or whichever other injury that everybody has, because half of our team is injured. That's a big one. You've got to be ready to, like, you have to stand, you have to walk, you have to do other physical things and be comfortable with that before you even hit the ice. So it's a long recovery for him. Of course, we wish him well, because groin surgery just does not sound comfortable. I mean, none of the injuries that these players sustain sound comfortable, but that's in a weird spot. And I don't envy him, but I figure he doesn't come back until next year.
You're probably right on that one.
Other big news, other great news. The defense gets a little less sad because Seth Jones has returned, which means Vlasic doesn't have to babysit the other defenseman. He gets to play with Seth again, and everything is right with the world. Not really, but just a smidge better.
Yeah, Seth has been back for a couple, hasn't looked fantastic. Was still out there for half of a game, so he's better than the rest of the alternatives right now. And it'll take him a little bit to get his legs to get going, but
that's okay.
Yeah, the team's better off with Seth.
First game that we get to talk about is the Winnipeg game.
Are you going to talk about the Dick?
Oh, yes. I forgot. Oh, that's what my note is. Nick Foligno was extended 2-year contract, $9 million, so 4.5 each year. Jason Dickinson was also extended for 2 years, and then it's $4.25 million for each year, so $850. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with both. The only thing I gotta say, and Chris Yule guys heard me say this all week, Kyle Davidson better pay Vlasic the money that kid is owed. With how much money he has thrown around with different veterans, some were worthy of the money. Some were given for $1 million to play 16 games and then go on a drunken rampage at a corporate event. Alex Vlasic has shown you that he is more than capable to play at this level. Pay the kid his money. Lock it down. You don't have a ton of other defensemen coming in, aside from Nolan Allen and EDM. A lot of your defensemen are old, or they're not going to be in the NHL for the long game on your team. Pay the kid his money.
It'll be KD's first actual work.
Which means he's not going to do it because he's a chicken.
Yes. It's easy to overpay people, and it's easy to tell people they're not wanted here and just send them away. That's all pretty easy. Vlasic will be a different animal now. You could do a bridge deal, which gets him close to the end of his RFA years for less money, or you lock him down for 8 years. You have the whole rest of the year to watch his play. Really, if things continue the way they are going,
He deserves his money.
I would give him 8 years at $6 million and hope he takes it. If I'm him, I ask for 7, but either way, he's going to be a shutdown defenseman, which means he'll be a top 4 defenseman, I believe, on this team for years to come. He will also be your top penalty killer. I need a little bit more of a sample size. Again, if he stays healthy and is able to play out the whole year, I think you will have enough. So again, Kyle really hasn't done any, has yet to do any of this kind of work.
Yeah.
Where, you could be wrong. And it will affect things. Whoa, yes, girl with the finger on the nose.
I'm not trying to defend Kyle by any means, because truly nobody dislikes him more than me. I do think, though, the DeBrincat and the Doc thing could be you could be wrong. NASCAR and Krasinski could not pan out.
Yes, it's possible, but by then you're 6 years in. And in this society,
be knocking on his door telling him he's wrong. It's one of my favorites.
But you'll be the only one. Everybody else will be walking around with 98 jerseys and they'll be zombies.
Fair enough.
And as long as they can sing in between periods and stuff, everybody's happy.
Fair enough.
That'll be his first one. You at least want to wrap up the talks. Also, everything that I'm hearing is I believe Mrazek will be re-signed.
Will or won't?
He will be re-signed.
I'm fine with that.
I have a feeling it will only be 2 years. They will either give him 5 or 6 mil a year,
you know what?
Which again, a lot of money, but he holds a slot till Comesso gets here. It's perfect timing. We're not influenced by the cap whatsoever right now. We're trying to get to the cap floor.
Well, and I do think with the year Mrazek has had, give him money.
Yeah, as long as he stays healthy, you're fine. He's not going to find that money anyplace else.
No.
He might find longer term, but even longer term probably is only 3 years. And I guarantee it's only at like 2.5 mil.
Well, and also everything that I've read, Mrazek likes being here.
Well, sure. It's a top-notch organization. He loves working with Jimmy Wade. And also, at the end of the day, nobody will come close to paying him what the Hawks will offer him.
Right.
So that's the reason why I'd like to be around. If I'm Dickinson, sure, I'm getting $2.25 million over my value to stay here. Yes, I really want to stay here. I can be a company man. I can say Kyle's God. I can say whatever you want me to say.
All right, we gotta actually talk about the Winnipeg game, because it's
okay.
Winnipeg game was fine. The first one was a little leaky on Mrazek. Second one, as we talked about, was just that was a rough shift change, and it's gonna happen. 3 stars for me. First is gonna go to Philip Kurashev, our all-star goaltender, Philip Kurashev. Second was Connor Murphy, just because this was one of the better games. Like, the mistakes weren't as glaringly obvious as in some games where I'm like, ooh, he's having a rough game. I thought he played pretty solid. And then third is going to go to, the one that I've been defending all year from the haters, is Lucas Reichel. The effort's there. He's struggling. I don't know if it's a talent thing. I don't know if it's a confidence thing, because you have the entire city of Chicago crapping on your game every day. I don't know. I'm still going to be here supporting him. And I could see the effort, and I could see the vision that he was trying to do things, and it just wasn't going his way. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes that happens a lot in his case, but I still liked what I saw.
Yeah, the Winnipeg game was they definitely played with them the first two periods. They went into the third with a 1-0 lead, and which will happen to this team a good amount. A really talented team just went in and said, listen, we'll just kind of hang out and then we'll turn it on at the end.
Right.
And we'll take care of business. And that's exactly what they did. We used to watch Blackhawk teams do that all the time.
Yeah, it was great.
Where they in the third period then just all of a sudden, okay, we're done here. We're going to go get our win and go home.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happened, but a good game by the boys, good structure. They played sound, they played hard.
Dallas, first and foremost, gosh, I forgot how much I hate Texas. Really can't wait to see the Stars get swept in the second round again. Because it also just had to do with the fact that we had some obnoxious Dallas Star fans in front of us. And I get a little defensive and a little angry when there's away team fans that are annoying to me.
Yeah, they weren't bad at all. So
no, they weren't.
You hate seeing it. I hear you. Boy, it boils my blood too.
3 stars. First is going to Alex Vlasic. Just because he's playing great. He's playing absolute great. I definitely think he was the best defenseman on our team for that game. Second goes to Philip Kurashev because, again, I think since Bedard's gotten injured, he has just stepped up immensely, and I love to see it because I'm a big fan of Philip Kurashev. Still think Kyle did him dirty during arbitration, and he's just an overall great hockey player. Third is going to go to Kevin Korchinski because did he play perfect? No. But did he do his best to go against, Dallas players in the defensive end? I think yes, because, as much as I don't like the Stars are still incredibly skilled. Kevin is a flawed defenseman, but he still did the best that he could to, go against them, and that's what matters. I didn't see as much like shying away or, silly mistakes as I sometimes typically do at other games. Like I said, it wasn't perfect, but I definitely saw him do his best against a way more skilled team.
Yeah, I'll go through. I got like a tiny bit of notes. I'm going to do better next year, taking notes and, being more professional. Be the first time in my life, but I'm going to do it. And I've got down here probably the best defensive game I've seen Core play. And there haven't been a ton of them, but it was, as you mentioned, it was against a really good team. And he looked pretty okay out there. Again, he'll need to start stringing those together. It's all going to take time with him. Again, they competed well, hung around for a little while, just not enough.
I thought Mrazek played great.
Yeah, I mean, between Mrazek's play and the posts in their last 3 games, they could easily be losing 8-1. So,
yeah,
they're not outplaying anybody, but they're not getting outplayed as bad as they were for a stretch. Let's put it that way. So that's about all I got on the Dallas game. And then we have if you want to talk about the last night's game, we can talk about last night's game because we have frozen up. So I don't know if you're going to finish off this one or not, but we need to wrap it up. So the Hawks win, something you don't hear a lot of. Hopefully you are able to take care of all of this.
What?
I just kept on talking.
Same here.
All right, where are you at in your talk?
Why are the haters hating on Seth Jones?
Because it's what they do. He makes $9.5 million. He's part of the last terrible move by Stan Bowman. And so everybody just takes their anger out on them. And it's easier to say I love kids because kids are cute. And we've now gone again into our frozen zone where you're going to talk, I'm going to talk. So I expect when you come back from this, you need to wrap it up. This is your computer saying you've worked too hard. Hopefully you'll come back, or hopefully you'll just end this show. I don't know exactly what you'll do. Let me ask my wife. Honey, what should she do? I don't know. Exactly. Who do what? We don't know what she's going to do. She's staying here frozen. Oh, she's back again. Let's wrap it up, kid. I can't hear you. You're muted.
I'm muted. Wow, this is a hot mess. So San Jose game, Celebrini Cup, Chicago versus San Jose. Nobody deserved to win this game. Both teams deserved to lose this game. Because it was just god awful hockey. We were up 1-0. Then San Jose scores like a weird, funky goal. Nothing happens in overtime, and then it takes 9 rounds of the shootout. 2 times it could have gone in for us, but it didn't. I think Mrazek played out of his mind with some crazy, wacky saves during the game as well as during the shootout. 3 stars because I saw the game. 1 goes to Mrazek because he played out of his mind. 2 to Cole Gutman because he almost had a absolutely insane. And Instagram, in Alberta, Canada. So that is it. We will see you guys next week.